While much of our country is focused on the pandemic, immigrants and refugees continue to suffer at our borders and in detention facilities. But Centro Romero, the Chicago Religious Leadership Network, and Wellington Avenue United Church of Christ are fighting for immigrant justice by sponsoring a virtual benefit concert on October 3rd. To find out more about the event, let us welcome 4 members of the team putting it together. Juan Carlos Hernandez, Susan Salgado, Nita Sahuri Ali, and Chris Inserra. How did this annual concert come about, and how has it evolved over the past 12 years?
As a part of Wellington Avenue United Church of Christ and our long decades of history in ministry, part of our work has been with immigrant justice. As a part of that immigrant justice work, we were the second sanctuary church in the nation in the 1980s, welcoming people fleeing violence in Latin America, violence perpetrated by the US military policy south of the border. And people fleeing to the United States were not safe and they weren't welcome. And so churches and communities across the United States started welcoming people into the safety of their own churches. Wellington was one of those communities. 12 years ago, we wanted to work with communities working on welcoming immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, especially given the horror at our southern border. And so Wellington started collaborating with Centro Romero, with Susana, who's part of Centro Romero, and with CRLM, the Chicago Religious Leadership Network, which coordinates immigrant welcoming congregations, and Juan Carlos is part of that work. Wellington is one of those immigrant welcoming congregations. And so for the first 10 years of those 12 years, our work focused primarily on the Latinx community, on the immigrant justice issues that were facing immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees in the Latinx community. However, a couple years ago, we realized, especially with the horror and the hate mongering of the current administration, including against Muslims, and the Muslim ban, we were challenged to expand the work we were doing. And so 2 years ago, in 2018, we started collaborating with some of our Muslim and Palestinian colleagues so that the focus of immigrant justice and El Pueblo Canta, this annual concert, also addressed the issues in the Palestinian and Muslim communities. And we're very grateful this year to be welcoming more of those community members, including Nida.
Juan Carlos, you had more to add to that, correct?
I've only been around a couple of years, but it's been great work. It's part of what I do as part of my job with CRLN, but it's really, what I can say is that it's CRLN and its member congregations and allies and friends, it feels like, what I can say is that it feels like a big family coming together to support this type of work for justice. And yeah, certainly what's been a big concern for us is including Muslim and Arab voices and congregations into our network. We're primarily a Christian and Jewish organization as CRLN, and I think as a network, but that's certainly is something we're working to grow. This pandemic has made that challenging, but thanks to Chris's pushing and network, we are including Muslim voices, but it's something that I think just is natural to us, is this greater inclusion and greater expansion of our circle of justice, and in that sense, a circle of healing too, because people come together to really feel accepted and welcomed in a safe space. And this year it's virtual, but it certainly continues with that feeling and that vision.
Susanna, tell me what your history has been and how you're involved.
Yeah, so I've been with El Pueblo Canta for 12 years. I have been with Centro Romero for about 20 years working in staff, but then I was a program participant of the youth program as I was growing up in elementary and high school years. And one of the richness of our concert is that we bring together different ethnicities, different cultures with our Latinx community. A lot of our parents from the youth program cook home traditional Latino food. And it's something that we're gonna miss this year because we cannot be in person. But a lot of our community really appreciate that that time and that opportunity for them to relate with others and to just as Juan Carlos mentioned it, to come together as a group, with food. One of the things that the Latinx community, and I'm pretty sure other communities appreciate, is we're always together eating. It's part of our culture, food, and our families really feel that they're giving something back to to everybody that support us with homemade traditional food. That, for example, mole is not easy to make.
So Nita, can you tell me what your involvement is with this concert and how long you've been involved?
I'm very new. I'm the newest member here. I just, this year, I was referred by a friend, and I'm really happy and excited to join because, as you all know, Palestinians have been immigrants all over the world. And since we lost our country at the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, I've been dealing with, I've been working for Justice for Palestine in the United States for a long time. I'm the president of American Muslims for Palestine. And with that, in 2010, I helped resettle the Palestinian Iraqi refugees who came to the Chicago area and, helped them for a couple of years. But then other than that, we're education, and we work just to bring the narrative about the Palestinian immigrants and refugees and the Palestinian story. But since 2018, all the Muslim ban and everything that happened that I would like to talk about, we have more involvement with these issues.
Tell me a little bit about the guests that you're going to be having.
Before I say who we're having this year, the first 10 years, we always, because our work was primarily focused in the Latinx community, we always featured a Latina band of some kind. And 2 years ago, when we realized that we needed to address the challenge of the wider immigrant, refugee, asylum-seeking communities, including the Muslim and Palestinians, we added Middle Eastern music. Last year, Alex Farha added the oud, and this year, through his reference, we have the El Wade Ensemble. And the El Wade Ensemble, this year, there are many people in the ensemble, but there are 4 people who will be performing as the featured musical guest. And then Susie can say a little bit more, but one of the last 6 or 7 years, another one of the musical guests have been the young people from Centro Romero. So Susie, if you could introduce them.
Some of our youth participants have been writing songs, working with volunteers, and also our guitar classes. Some of our youth have also sing and play the guitar. This year, we are going to have a mom and some of the youth singing along with Sones de Mexico. We're going to have 2 of our older youth that have been with us in the program for 8 years now. They're writing a song and they're going to do rapping. So it's something new, and the song, it deals about what we've seen recently with, people of color, and the police brutality and, the fear that they also have as being youth of, brown youth. Mm-hmm.
And I would add, they call themselves the Dare to Dream Children's Choir. And, part of the Dreamers and that community of people, we feel that our music the music and celebration of this event is important because of the work that we do, and people feel so beaten up and so discouraged by the systemic racism of brown and Black communities. And so the music of the Dare to Dream children, of the El Wade Ensemble, the Wellington Choir will do a song. Some children who are part of, they're called Seeds of Change, will do a song. And Voices, which is a historical political folk group, will do a song. So it's a combination of different music all to remind us and inspire us to keep on keeping on in this work for justice.
How can people donate and how can they watch the concert?
The concert this year is virtual. So the bad news is we cannot come together. We can't share the Middle Eastern and Latino food prepared by people and then be together in the concert. The good news is a lot more people can come to the concert because they can log in. So it is a virtual concert because of the pandemic. And there is a link which will be shown through this video, where it is actually the Wellington website where you can register. We need people to register because by registering, even if you aren't making a donation at this time, you want to make a donation later, that's how you're going to get the link. So Juan Carlos, for example, is in charge of all the registration. So anybody who registers will be reminded the week leading up to the concert. And then on the day of the concert, you will receive that link so that you can join us virtually for this concert.
Thank you all for joining us to talk about this important event. I am Jasmin Taylor, 4 Different Drummers, and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.